Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Cutie in the Braid podcast. Sorry,
Yeah, see?
we started.
You do better.
Ashley was saying we should start our podcast like the old gangsters.
Yeah, see?
Yeah, I'm saying
Yeah, see? Oh, you do way better. Yeah,
Welcome to the
see?
Bikini podcast, Shane.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So since we lost half our audience yet so far.
For those of you who still are listening, we
Yeah.
have a fire topic for y'all today.
Yeah. See, what is that topic? What is it?
I think a great topic to discuss would be, is our sport healthy? What aspects of our health is affected by prep, and can prep become a bad thing for us? You know where I'm going with this.
Yes.
I can't get over the gangster thing. It's like in my head now. Every time I'm trying to talk professionally, now I'm trying to talk about gangster. See? Yeah.
Why did old gangsters think that was cool to talk like that?
I don't
We
know.
should figure that out. Let's just figure that
Where did that accent really come from? That's what I want to know.
Yeah.
It's like talking out of the side of your mouth or something. Yeah.
Dave Chappelle does something really funny on that. Like where he's talking to a cop. It's so funny.
Okay.
You're going to see the YouTube video. You're gonna see it. So, okay, talking about health and fitness, and our sport of extreme fitness. So is it unhealthy? Why is it unhealthy? Like, what's the reality of that scenario? So I'm happy that you talk about, because I hate that people, especially people in the that are not in our world, are like, oh, why would you do? They don't eat. They do all this cardio. It's like so unhealthy for you. It's so unhealthy to be that lean. Like, so is it really? Is it really that unhealthy for you to be that lean? What's happening? Whatnot. So I guess you go into your take on this, and like what I guess we can kind of go into your take would be, what do you commonly hear? And obviously as a competitor, people are always saying things, putting pressure on you to not compete, which is so weird to me,
Right.
Don't do something you love
Totally.
because it's weird to me. You don't do something you love,
Yeah. So I do, hear from time to time, mostly in the comment section of my Instagram, those bold Instagram keyboard warriors. I get sometimes, go eat a cheeseburger. And, people who say this think they're so clever. They think they're hilarious, and they're the first ones to think of that. But it's just like, oh God, I roll my eyes at that, or like too thin, unhealthy, stuff like that, things along those lines. But I think your friends and family can be guilty of it as well. But, it's like funny because if somebody was sitting there really binging on ice cream and pizza, no one would like blink an eye, but you show that you're eating chicken and vegetables and all these healthy foods, and people question it. They question if you're being healthy or not. And in fact, funny enough, like I think like yesterday I got a comment on my YouTube saying, this looks like anorexia. And I'm like, I commented back, I'm like, wow, I've never seen an anorexic person with such developed voluptuous hamstrings. You know what I mean? Like I'm not, although it might appear that we're thin, some people think we're muscular. I don't know, but I'm nowhere near anorexia, for God's sakes. Like, do you think I'd be able to put on this muscle? And with being anorexic, it's just, people have such a distorted view of what is healthy and what is unhealthy, because I think society shows that being maybe even slightly overweight is a healthy thing that makes you look healthy. You know what I mean? And anything below the slightly overweight standard is now unhealthy.
Yeah. I always thought that was so weird, especially for I think the women in the industry have it the worst, because guys don't get that. Like when guys are shredded, they're never like, oh, you're too skinny, you're unhealthy, like you're whatever. But if a girl gets shredded, it's like, no, you're unhealthy all of a sudden. I'm like, well, how do you know? Like, what's your credentials to just justify based on pure appearance that this girl's unhealthy?
Right.
And then it's so funny because the same people that'll say, oh, she's too skinny, like the same type of group of people will be like, oh, she's so masculine looking. She looks like a man because she's like a bikini competitor that has a little bit of
one
arm.
ab.
Yeah,
one ab popping through.
Bicep.
She's a man.
Yeah, bicep vein. I'm like, look, you don't get to have both. She can't be so muscular that she looks manly, and she's so lean that she looks anorexic.
Yeah, you can't be muscular and anorexic like that. I don't think that's how it works. That's not how muscle holds.
Yeah, so in terms of like overall health, when you're in that like fit body fat percentage, you're not unhealthy. It's when you get into that essential, we call it essential fat, body fat percentage, where you're starting to see things happen where you could be unhealthy, not where you are unhealthy. It's not, people are like, oh, when you get to that essential fat, your period stops. Nope, that's not the case. Actually, still, every time she checks
I have not missed one. Unfortunately, but also fortunately.
Yeah. So,
I've not missed it. Even when I was the leanest of the lean, still haven't missed a period.
Yeah, so, and we've gotten sub 13% before, like one time, like the high 12s. So, yeah, so it's not like this, not like you're necessarily unhealthy. So the thing I think is important is that people who are saying these things are not checking their labs, like checking what actual health is. And it's the same people too that'll say someone who's fit in the fit body fat range, which is probably the healthiest place you could be, is in that fit body fat range. We'll say that girl's unhealthy, and then they'll look at someone who's like 30% body fat and then say that person's healthy, where they're starting to not be healthy, right? Mm-hmm. It's such a weird thing. And I don't know when that all happened, where we started this whole like fat is beautiful campaign in the United States, right? Because we're trying to like be more accepting of people who are overweight, which I think is a terrible idea. And I'll probably get some people not liking that comment, but it is not okay to tell someone when they're overweight or when they're unhealthy in body fat that fat is beautiful. It's beautiful. Like, and actually like embrace it in a way where it's like, where they're promoting it and like saying, oh, it's okay. Like, it's not okay to be unhealthy. Like, if we can control our health, it needs to be controlled. You know, that's a thing. Like, you should be a healthy body fat percentage. It's not that it's ugly or anything like that. I'm not saying that, but we shouldn't be promoting it as like, oh, that's the healthy way to be because most people are like that now, because that's the norm. It is not the healthiest way to be. The healthiest way to be is in the fit, healthy body fat range. You're going to live longer. You're going to be more confident. You're going to feel better. You're going to feel better in clothes, everything. Right. So, like, let's not like beat around the bush on that anymore. You know, yeah. I'm not going to do it ever.
Oh yeah, I see it slowly happening. I just saw the Nike ad. There was a Nike ad I showed you the other day, and it was not even just an overweight person. I would say morbidly obese person in this Nike ad. And I'm like, wow, we're really shifting here. Yeah. I mean, especially Nike, who's known to be an athletic fit brand. Yeah. But I mean, you know, it's a fine line to walk, because you do definitely want to, as a brand, say, you know, any person can wear this size of clothing. But at the same time, in the back of your mind, you know that Nike is known for having athletic footwear. And that's kind of like a shift, right? It shifts your way of thinking in a way. And I think slowly over time, you know, we're starting to accept more and more body fat as being healthier and healthier, if that makes sense, slowly but surely. Whereas like maybe in 1950, I would say the average body weight for a female is probably maybe 115 or 120. I don't know. Yeah. I'm going to give it a guess that it's like 10 pounds, at least 10 pounds lighter than it is now.
I saw that stat once. I think it was around 10 to 15. Yeah.
Right. So that's kind of crazy to think how like it's shifting, in that now more and more people who are overweight are becoming healthy. Yeah. And well, you know, you guys can't hear my air quotes, but you watching the video, healthy. So it's just kind of a weird thing to go about doing. I don't know. It's just the waves are shifting here. It's just like we gotta grasp onto some sort of reality at some point.
Exactly. Yeah. And you know, if you're happy in that higher percentage range, great, go for it. You know, be happy, be thrilled, be confident. But there's no denying the fact you are at a higher risk for many different diseases, and basically 1/5 of all early deaths in the United States are because of obesity-related diseases. So to say that, you know, we're not healthy is completely the wrong thing to be giving out, you know. Now, there are points where people go to that unhealthy range, and that should be talked about too. But that's very easily monitored, you know, and very easily diagnosed, you know. Like, all you need to do is do a hormone panel test. Like, our doctors do a full hormone panel test for $150, and they can tell you everything that's going on the inside, for the most part. We're talking your liver health, your kidney health, your cholesterol, your testosterone, your thyroid, your growth hormone levels, your vitamin deficiencies, things like that. So we can assess your overall internal health pretty easily. And most people, like when I probably do, at least 200 probably at least 200 different people do labs a year where I like see their labs too. And so out of the people that we work with, I would say there's some people that will get like into prep, like farther into prep, and you'll see it a lot in females. Their testosterone levels will start going down a little bit, and then their thyroid levels will start going down a little bit when they're deep into prep. But it's pretty minimal. It's like if I were to give a percentage on it, it would probably be like 10%, a little less than 10%, honestly, of their hormone levels will kind of shift downward a little bit because the adaptation process of being so low calorie and doing cardio and all those extra things and being in a caloric deficit for a long period of time. Just like natural part of being in a caloric deficit, you know? And but they're still usually in those healthy parameters, you know, they're still usually in the healthy parameters. So based on the labs and based on like looking at that internal health, there's nothing unhealthy. And if anything, it's healthier because usually you'll see the blood pressure go down in prep. A lot of times their cholesterol will go down in prep. The only bad things that I'm seeing on labs would be that. Now, if sometimes people will take a lot of different supplements or even things past supplements, and that's when you start seeing things that become a little bit unhealthy, like their liver enzymes will raise, their kidney levels, like they could get elevations in different things, ALT, ASTs, and whatnot. And so that's, yeah, when you're doing things like that, it gets to that point. But if you're just a health and fitness person, just taking over-the-counter supplements and staying in relatively decent body fat percentage ranges, you don't see that until the very, very end. Like, and when we're talking females getting to that point, it's like under 16%. When they're under 16% body fat is when you might start seeing more of those adaptations happen. And that is a very short period of time. We're talking maybe the last month, maybe the last 2 months, because most bikini competitors are competing 14 or so percent body fat, you know, and unless they're getting like really, really low for a long, long period of time, you don't really even see that on their hormone panels, like that stuff dropping so dramatically. So is there other things to take into account besides just the hormone adaptations? Of course, yeah. You know, like we're talking even losing your period and whatnot. Obviously that's not great for you, but it's not everyone that does that. And even some girls who are higher in body fat and just start exercising lose that too. So it's not a direct correlation with body fat. I think we talked about that before. But yeah, so the whole it just makes you, it really upsets me because these guys have no research, no evidence, no labs they're pulling. I got doctors, the best people in here. Everyone has a degree that works in here. And everyone's like, no, it's pretty healthy. Like everyone's, you know, I have the support of so many doctors that I've worked with over the years. Are like, yeah, this is great for them. You're doing it the right way. You know?
As long as you listen to your body. And I think as a bikini athlete, I'm more hyper aware of what's going on in my body, you know, whereas the average person probably doesn't even care or checks. I'm super hyper aware of everything that's going on in my body. Like, is my hair falling out, or am I struggling to lose weight? And if something if I feel off or felt like more tired than usual, like I'm super aware of it. And then in that case, I would look into it. And I'm, always getting body fat percentages taken and my weight. And so it's like, I know what's going on in my body and I get my labs done too. So unlike the normal person, I'm very aware of what's going on in my body. I'm aware of taking vitamins, getting the right nutrition, foods that are going to benefit my body and make me feel good, rather than just, not really even monitoring the foods I'm consuming. Or if most people probably don't even take vitamins that aren't super into the health and fitness realm. So take that into consideration too. And I feel like this sport has taught me how to be more healthy. And it's like a really good learning lesson. It shows me what foods I do well with and how to eat properly and to get those vitamins, what vitamins are going to benefit me the most. So not only does competing improve your health and fitness in general, but your knowledge of it so that you can use it further down the line.
Yeah, I think that's another misconception too that people don't understand. Because the same people that are telling you you're unhealthy are also telling you to eat a cheeseburger, right?
Yeah.
Which is like a cholesterol-filled food, like high in saturated fats. It's definitely not an ideal food to be eating, right? With gluten and everything. Like we're talking, they hit so many parameters of things that aren't healthy, and they're telling you to be healthy by eating a cheeseburger. So it's just so backwards. It's like, it's crazy to say that to someone. Right. It's like, it's I can't even think of something similar to tell someone. It's just so crazy to me. It's so when we're talking about health foods and being healthy, we're not just talking about how you look. Now how you look is a good indicator if you're overweight and if you're not overweight, right? And that's something that really bothers me, because the whole like fat is healthy campaign is killing people. That's not a thing we should be promoting in the United States. Like, I understand people are sensitive to it, and the people that are probably putting those ads out were maybe when they were younger were fat shamed or whatever. And I don't think that's okay. You should never do that. You should always support and promote people and help them, never like shame them into it. Though Joe Rogan on his podcast was saying, he's like, when people fat shame me, it works. He was like, someone told me I was fat, and I was like, man, he's right. I need to lose weight.
Right.
So I guess there's that argument, right?
I think also people can promote like bigger people in a different way if they're trying to go about it. So like, instead of just saying you're fat, stay the way you are, keep doing what you're doing, you're perfectly fine, you're healthy, you can show it more in a way like, hey, I know I got a tough road ahead, but I'm going to start now and move to a healthier type of lifestyle instead of just being satisfied with being overweight. I don't think it's necessarily bad to promote people if they're trying to move towards a healthier lifestyle, they're starting a transformation. I think that's great. But just to say like, oh, you're fine, you're healthy, keep doing it, put on weight, who cares?
Yeah.
I think that's the wrong mentality to give people.
That's the thing that I'm upset about. I don't like that. As like a health and fitness professional, I'm like, that's not okay to put that message out there. It's not okay to be obese. It's not. You're gonna die early. Like, your odds are super high that you're gonna die early.
What's funny is like how I never really see like an 80-year-old 400-pound person. Do you ever see that?
You won't.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's the odds are just not in the favor.
So although they, you might be healthy now, and your labs might say you're healthy now at the age of 30 or whatever, it's not going to be that way the rest of your life.
Really high respiratory disease, really high cardiovascular disease. It's a really high percentage of our deaths are early. Like, it's almost like it's crazy. Like, when I see those ads, I'm all, like, half of me is like, is this like a population control thing that they're telling people it's okay? Because it's literally the biggest killer. It's bigger than smoking. It's bigger than almost every disease combined. Besides, it's crazy like how much it's killing people. But then we're like, that is beautiful. I'm like, no, it's not. It's not. It's super. That person is unhealthy. So like, when I see a overweight person, like a really overweight person in the gym, especially, I'm like so happy for them.
Yeah.
Like, it makes me so happy to see them. And it's funny because I want to go up to them too in the gym and be like, you keep kicking ass, man. Like, good for you. But then you're also kind of, they don't want you to point it out that they're the biggest one in the gym too. So, but it makes me really happy. But I always want to, I always want to be like, but I just don't want to make it any different for them than it is for anyone else. When I see like someone who's like 100+ pounds overweight in the gym, I love that stuff so much. Like, I've had a couple 100-pound plus like transformation weight losses, and it's like such a rewarding thing too as like a trainer. Like, getting someone stage ready is really cool. It is really fun. But the reality is like taking someone who needs to lose like 60+ pounds to get them in shape where they're confident again, you get them their life back. It's like you get them, you change their whole life. That's such a rewarding thing for a coach. And I get a lot of people too, like I get a lot of regular people that are afraid to approach me, which I hate too, because like, they're like, oh, well, you do contest prep, so I never wanted to talk to you because I was always afraid, but I listen to all your stuff or whatever, and I just thought that you wouldn't even want to work with me. And I'm like, no, dude, that's so rewarding. Like, the contest prep, and I think when we talk about like fitness and contest prep too, contest prep is the highest level of getting someone fit. So just like NFL has athletic trainers, like that's the highest level of like athletic training. If you're an NFL trainer or a NBA trainer, like that's the highest level. And there's levels below that. You could have your regular gym trainers who train people for like sports, but then they would really like to be an NFL trainer, right? So when you're at the highest level of like contest prep, it's the same thing as like transformation people, because you're taking someone to a fit level. You're just taking them to the ultra fit level, and that's the highest level of transformation training essentially. So I think that the contest prep coaches, and there's a lot of good ones out there, are the right people for those things. I think that the transformation people who can't break past transformation are not learning that skill set enough to get into contest prep. Like for the most part, because it is the most glamorous part of physique training, right? So I love it when I see people who are like, overweight and got 50+ pounds to lose, and they want to like, or they'll reach out to me or whatever. I'm like, let's do this, man. This is going to be fun. Like, taking a lot of the people I get are already fit, and then you just take them to ultra fit, and then they go back to fit. It's like, it's cool, it's fun, and it's challenging, and it lets me work with my mind and take people to, like, I compete against other trainers with it. You guys compete on stage, and the coaches compete against each other through their clients. And we're, for the most part, any of the like higher level guys, they're super competitive. They grew up playing sports. They want to beat you just as bad as, it's just like a thing. Like it's like a little like secret fight that the coaches have. And it's like, but we're all friends for the most part too. But it's like this little like, oh, you got me, like that type of thing. It's a fun thing. There's a guy out here named Justin, and he trains a lot of the bikini girls out here too. He's like my bikini like nemesis out here. And so like it's always like we're super cool, we're friends, but after a show, if he wins, he'll give me that look like I got you this time, right? I got you. I'll be like so, he knows it makes me so bad too. So we'll like bring fire for him the next time. It's so funny. Like, but that's how we do it. But the transformation stuff is like life changing. And if you're a transformation person or you got a lot of weight to lose and you're listening to this, like even Coach Sam, that was one of our coaches here, she was at 200, a little over 200 pounds at one point. Yeah, and then she got down to like bikini small. She was like I want to say she was probably like closer to like high 120s maybe. And then now she's like went from figure to bikini to figure to women's physique competitor of the year, then to one placing off a women's pro card. And now she's like going for a women's physique pro card.
Dang, that's quite the roller coaster there. But that's impressive, like what you can do if you put your mind to it,
Nuts, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, so as far as like the health things go, unless you're going crazy hard for a very long period of time, maybe you're taking PEDs or whatever, that's when you're going to start running into these risks. But if you're just, a bikini athlete hanging around at 18% body fat, staying lean, and at 17% body fat, you got some abs. Like you're showing a very flat stomach. And then a few times a year, you get down to 14% and you're eating low cholesterol foods, low fat foods, for the most part, a gluten-free diet, like for a lot of the people, not for everyone, for a lot of the people, like you're pretty much doing the healthiest way of living you can do. So don't let someone tell you that it's unhealthy just because you got a little bit of abs,
Right.
And and there'll be, 35% body fat being like, oh, you're unhealthy.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Like, have you even looked at your blood pressure lately? Like, it's just so crazy,
Yeah,
so,
it's like, oh, yeah, well, I exercise 5 days a week. When's the last time you exercised?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I play mini golf on the weekend.
Yeah. I'm fighting for the fit. Let's make a campaign. Adam fights for the fit.
Fighting for the fit.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
It's a political season. I'm linking buttons. Fight for the fit. Adam for fitness 2024.
Yeah. But going along with that too, I think it is funny how like some people find it to be acceptable to call out somebody for being unhealthy or to eat a cheeseburger. But if it were the other way around and somebody said, stop eating cheeseburgers, or you look unhealthy because you're overweight, it'd be like, oh,
yeah.
Did they just, oh no, they didn't.
Yeah.
Oh no, yeah. So I just think that's kind of funny. I mean, it's just like, all right, well, but I do think sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes it can come from a place of insecurity. I think like guys especially, like let's say it's a guy that's like soft and maybe skinny fat or something, and a girl has abs, and then he says, oh, way too skinny for me, or you cheeseburger, or oh, it's a man, because it has abs and they don't. It's kind of in a way, it's like, well, putting you down because they don't have like abs, because maybe they have, in their opinion, a more feminine body than what you would have just because they don't work out or take care of themselves. So I think that's like sometimes where you can get some of that negativity from. And then sometimes it's just uneducation, or a place of concern, like maybe your family, like, oh, like eat the dinner because they're so used to, having you, eat a huge dinner with them at nighttime or whatever the case may be. So sometimes it's those kind of situations. But yeah, a lot of it I think is just like the uneducation or making assumptions that we're just starving ourselves, and really we're not. We're just super hyper aware of what's going into our body and what kind of foods and the quality of foods too. But there is, as you mentioned, times where it can become unhealthy. And I think sometimes even for women, it's like, sometimes it's a mental thing, right? Sometimes it's maybe an older eating disorder that would pop up from somebody, or becoming too obsessed with the foods that you eat to where it becomes like a problem mentally. Like, I know we covered the topic of orthorexia before in this podcast. If you guys want to search it, it's probably closer down on the list, one of our older ones. But, becoming too obsessed with the foods that you eat and what kind, and just kind of having that take over your life.
Yeah.
And it's important to be like aware of these things. And if you are feeling like these urges, or you think you're taking it too far where it just consumes you, then, you know, in that case, definitely seek help.
Yeah.
And I think maybe even for women, I would go even as far as saying sometimes if it is an unhealthy thing, maybe it becomes more of one of those mental things, one of those eating disorders rather than a physical issue.
Yeah, and I think, and if you guys need a resource for that, we did a podcast with Celeste as well, and she handles a lot of that with like working with people who have eating issues and just the mental fitness of extreme fitness, you know. So that's one of the things too that people don't understand about like competition prep. And I'm gonna say a name because she's okay with me saying it. I've known her for years, and she did this, but her name is Marissa Watson. She's my old friend, old client. We trained together probably 10 years ago. But it's on her social media. You'll see that she used to be anorexic, like severely anorexic, to the point where when you saw her, you were like, that's someone you could say, okay, she's unhealthy. Like when you see someone like that, when she was really, really anorexic, you could see it. But bodybuilding actually saved her from anorexia because she started lifting weights and she got into actually powerlifting. She does like a whole bunch. She does everything. She does like powerlifting, CrossFit, bodybuilding, bikini competition. She does like everything. Yeah. She's an awesome chick. So what she did is she started like lifting strength training. And then she realized that when she's strength training, like she's not going to get stronger unless she eats.
Yeah.
And so that led to her putting on muscle. She's got like incredible physique now. Led to her putting on muscle and eating right for gaining strength. And that led to her getting stronger, getting more muscle, and then led her to do bikini competitions. And because like she learned, you know, a healthy relationship with food, and that if I eat to nourish my body, I need to have muscle. I need to actually eat more calories. And I think people that don't understand the sport see us getting lean as being anorexic. But reality is, I mean, we have Ashley here. She's like, what was your weight the other day? 122 pounds? 124
yeah,
pounds?
but I've also been like 126 coming into a show too. Yeah. So we'll say anywhere in that range, 122 to 126.
Yeah.
That is not underweight for my height. No. That is not.
And her calorie range, is like even in prep, is like close to 1,500 calories. So that is not unhealthy for someone who weighs around 120 pounds.
Which, let's dive into that real quick too, because I don't think people are aware of that. You know, you hear 1,500, you think, oh, that's low.
Yeah.
Oh my God, it's so low. Because you know why? Because in grade school, when they were teaching the food pyramid, and even on the, I don't know if they still have it on the back of nutrition labels, based off a 200 or 2,000 calorie diet. Consumes 2,000 calories. Yeah. Okay, and he's a big and muscular guy. That's your average, right?
When I'm leaning out like a little bit, but not aggressively, just trying to kind of stay in shape, I'm about 2,000, 2,300 maybe.
So just take that in perspective. If you want to go ahead and give your stats, you're a dude. You got a lot of muscle.
Yeah, 190, 5'9", and my maintenance calories, if I was maintaining, so not gaining any weight at all, is probably closer to like 27, 2,800. Honestly, to be honest, like so when I was training before, it was like closer to like 3,400 when I was training people on the floor. But now that I'm a computer job, which is 80% of America, like it's some. But
you still exercise that. You still get a workout. I work out every day, which is more than most people, average people, because people usually work out maybe 2 days a week. I don't know what the average.
About that, I would say.
Yeah. But so you work out a lot and you work out hard. So it's like, even though you might be more sitting down, you're still getting more.
Yeah. And I even on the weekends, a lot of times when I'm bored, I'll work out twice a day on the weekends. Just because I'm bored. And so 2,000, if I'm at 2,000 calories, honestly, I'm a little bit like full, because you got to remember, I'm not moving that much. I'm not doing that much cardio. I'm just lifting. And then, I might lose a few pounds, like over the course of a month, maybe 2 or 3 pounds at 2,000 calories. But at 2,500, my weight doesn't move. Like I'm done. I'm there. 100%. So
just take that into consideration. Yeah. Like if like that's what they're teaching kids, like, oh yeah, it's about 2,000 calories just for everyone. Everyone is different, and especially there's a huge difference between men and women in that case too. Like there's no way I could eat your calories and maintain, right? I would slowly start to gain weight. Yeah. Unless my metabolism is super fast, which there are some blessed people out there. There are some girls that can get up to that, but I know mine isn't that case. So it's just like, it goes to show you, like, you hear 1,500 and you gasp like, oh my God, that's so low. But it's really not. If you're eating hearty, healthy, wholesome foods, that's actually quite a bit. That is. And even like if you're taking it into like 3 meals a day, like on average, or 3 meals a day and a snack. That should do you over pretty good if you're eating the right foods. Now you can totally ruin that if you get a venti frappuccino, extra whipped cream every day, then that's already like half of your intake.
Yeah.
But it just goes to show you that like, even though the calorie range might seem low, it's really not if you're eating healthy, wholesome foods, which you should be anyway, because you know that frappuccino is not healthy for you. That's not doing you anything but giving you a sugar rush for like an hour, and then you crash.
Yeah, it's a lot of volume if you're eating it healthy, like healthy wise. Like we're talking, you know, your average meal is probably like 350 calories if it had like 4 ounces of meat, like 35 carbs worth of like rice, and then like vegetables. You'd have to eat that like 5 times in the day to get that many calories. That's quite a bit of food. You know, people don't understand that. So yeah, it's funny because people will think, oh yeah, I shouldn't go lower than this amount, or I shouldn't have this amount. Like if you're 5 foot flat and you're 95 pounds on stage, yes, your calorie intake is going to be significantly lower than someone who's 5'9", 190 pounds like me on stage. So that 2,000 calories is, I don't know where that number came from. I believe, if I remember the stat right, and I'm just throwing it out there because I know I've read this at some point, it was based on a 150-pound male that was like, I think it was at 5'8", where that like 2,000 calorie parameter came in. So it was I could be off by a few pounds, but I know it was definitely male that like original stat for maintenance calories kind of came out.
That's a light male though. 150 for a guy.
Well, it was years ago. Yeah, it was years ago. That stat. It's been around. That 2,000 calorie thing's been around for years. Yeah. I mean, I don't even know the date of that, but that was like over a decade ago, like decades ago, maybe 3.
Just think of like 5'8", 150. That's a small guy.
People were smaller back then. You got to remember,
because I could probably get up to that if I wanted to. Like, oh my god,
if someone's not working out and they're 5'8", it's not unrealistic for a 150, 160 pound guy. Yeah.
Jeez.
I mean, think about it. Like that's pretty.
It's only 25 pounds more than me.
But they don't have any muscle.
And they're taller than me.
Like think about it.
Wow.
Yeah, that's like a regular person. Yeah, they're not heavy, dude. Like
I'm definitely not a regular person anymore. But
I'm 5'9". Like right now, let's say I've been leaning out a little bit. So realistically, I'm 5'9", like 184 right now, probably. So yeah, like that's only 30 pounds less and an inch shorter. If it's not, that's very. So yeah, so you got to remember too. That's kind of like brings up a cool thing. So back, like in the 50s, everyone was in shape. There was no one that was unhealthy, and honestly, no one was working out in the 50s. So what happened, right?
It was definitely one of those roller machines that you see that jiggle the fat. The one at
LVAC. They have one at LVAC. It's like a fat jiggle machine. You can't use it. It's just like up on the rafters for like it's like just a funny old machine. But we're always like, let's get up there and try to use that thing. So what happened was we started the food companies. They wanted to get you eating more often because they're like, okay, if everyone's eating 3 times a day, how do we get them to consume more of our product? That way we can sell more. Well, they started eating more often became a thing. Snacks became a thing. That was never a thing before. It was breakfast, lunch, dinner. That's it. That was what it was. And so when they said, then now think about our daily lives now. Now you wake up, you go to breakfast, you eat a little bar at work, you go to lunch, you come home, eat a little snack, then you eat your dinner, and then you still might have a snack before bed. That wasn't a thing before. There was no like snacking in between meals back in the 50s and stuff. It was just breakfast, lunch, dinner, 3 meals a day. So what happened was naturally our calorie consumption increased because of the frequency of foods became higher, and then the natural weight went up. If the natural weight's higher, yes, your calorie consumption needs to be higher to maintain that weight. So that's what happened, and I don't understand, like, it never needed to be like so many calories. The snacks didn't need to be there, you know? Mm-hmm. So if you think about it, back in the day, the average person, like an average female, if you ate 3 meals a day and you're eating healthy foods that are not processed, because there wasn't processed foods back then in the 50s, and if there were, it was very minimal. So they didn't even have non-fat milk, you know, back then. So like when you have 3 meals a day and you're a 120-pound woman, right? Like how many calories are you actually eating throughout the day? Like probably, let's say 400 calories a meal, maybe. That's a pretty hearty meal, 400 calories with clean foods, because there wasn't the stuff they had that we have now, right? Mm-hmm. The calories weren't as dense as they have now. So when you talk about what they're eating back then, which is like bread and meat and eggs and oatmeal in the morning, like that's not that crazy. Whole milk would be the place they got their calories too. But let's say it was 400 calories or 500 calories. Let's say they ate a lot of food. 500 calories, that's a lot for a clean meal. So they're eating 1,500 calories a day. right? That's it, right? And they're all in shape. What do you know, right? And now all of our people are eating 6 times a day, and everyone's out of shape, and foods are more calorie dense. Like, what do you know? So like that's the thing. People don't understand, like, that's how we used to eat, and that's why everyone was lean. It's not based on frequency of food, it's based on total calories of food. Frequency has zero to do with how in shape you are. That's a researched thing. They did 2 research studies on that. One was 3, 6, and 14 meals a day, and then there was no difference between the 3, 6, and 14 meals in terms of fat loss. If the calories were the same, it was pretty much exactly the same. There was actually a very, very slight advantage in the 3 meals. And then they tested again. They went 2, 4, and 6 meals a day, and there was no advantage in the in any of those parameters. The 2 meals a day again was very slightly advantaged. But so frequency has nothing to do with, it's just total calorie consumption, So it's just kind of an interesting thing to talk about,
Right, absolutely. You know what I also think is another thing about our sport that is healthier than a lot. And just to clarify as well, we're kind of specifically talking about bikini in this podcast. Talk about bodybuilding and stuff like that. That's a whole different situation. But we're saying bikini competitors. I just want to put that out there, bikini, because they are closer to what, more of a maintainable and realistic physique. Okay. So anyway, in our sport, I think another thing that's healthy, and maybe I shouldn't use the word healthy, but safer, is we don't have a lot of the injuries that other sports would have. Like, you don't really see concussions in our sport. You don't see broken bones. You don't see ACL tears. And I would say even overtraining is kind of hard to do as well, unless you really took it to the next level with your cardio, which if your coach is overtraining you with cardio, you better look into a new coach if he's having you do hours and hours. That shouldn't be happening. But I think that's another thing to keep in mind with our sport too, is if anything, you might have a little bit of a decreased metabolism, which can be fixed, but you won't really see concussions or any of these other injuries that make a lot of these other sports unsafe. Like, there really isn't that much injuries. If anything, like I said, there might be a little bit of an overuse injury, but that really should not happen if you're prepping the right way.
Yeah, and if it is, it probably comes down to your training methods, more than anything. Like, if you're doing a lot of overhead shoulder presses and things like that with really heavy loads, that's when you might get something, but it's so rare in our sport. It's
especially
super
bikini.
Like, how many times do you see even like a Mr. Olympia, like a bodybuilder lifting heavy loads, like, get injured? It's pretty rare, where you're
sometimes they get tears and stuff,
Yeah.
but not in bikini. I've never seen any bikini competitors get a bicep tear.
And even when we're talking about like healthy body fat percentage, even men's physique body fat percentages, when they get down to like, and just to give you guys a stat too, so there's not very many really good accurate body fat testing methods. The gold standard is a DEXA scan, but even that one has a margin of error. So they all have a margin of error. There's nothing that has no margin of error in terms of body fat percentage testing. But the DEXA scan is considered like the gold standard. That's the most accurate one we can use from at least the last time I checked. So there was the Arnold Classic a couple years back. There was a gym. We should give them a shout out. What was that gym we used? Do you remember? I just forget the name of it. Real cool gym. Grandview?
I don't know.
Grandview Fitness? That sounds right. If I'm saying it wrong, sorry guys, but I'll give you a shout out. If I said it wrong, I'll give you a shout out. Super cool owner of the gym. They have a DEXA scan in their gym. And in that DEXA scan, they gave all the people who are doing the Arnold a free DEXA scan if they wanted to come down and do it. So they had a lot of men's physique guys come down, a lot of women's physique, women competitors come down. And these guys are, guys and gals are very, very lean. So the guys, they had a lot of the men's physique pros competing. And there was only one guy who came in under 6% body fat. And he had to come back the second time. It was actually the guy I was posing, if you remember him. He goes by O Shirtless on on Instagram. So he was 6.1, and he was the lowest percentage of body fat out of all of the men's physique pros that they had tested body fat that day or that week. And we're talking the top guys in the world are doing the Arnold. It's not, just your regular competition. These are the best of the best. Mm-hmm. So everyone was like 6.6, 6.7. There was one guy who looked shredded. He was 7.1. And then Dave, O Shirtless, he came at 6.1, he's like, I'm going to break 6. Let's do it tomorrow. Right. I was like, all right, let's do it tomorrow. He came in at 5.9% the next day. And that's the lowest he got. He was so shredded. He was so shredded. It was bodybuilder pro level shredded. I mean, that's what men's physique is these days. Is basically they're like bodybuilders. You know, these guys, they're crazy big. Sometimes people argue with me that they're not. I'm like, no, they're bodybuilders. Like they're bigger than like the Frank Zanes of back in the day when they won the Olympia. But so just to give you guys like a marker for body fat percentages for men, if you are at 6%, like a true 6%, you are so lean, you literally like he's the grains in his butt cheeks were showing. Like he was full on grainy everywhere. And that was the lowest recorded of the Arnold level. So when guys are walking around saying, oh, I'm 6% body fat, you're not, because I've seen it and it is insane what that body fat looks like. So for a guy to do a men's physique competition at a local level, like if he's just kind of like average, not winning the whole thing, he's probably like 8-9% body fat, honestly. And so for him to get the unhealthy body fat levels, one, we have to see if it's even unhealthy, but 10% is very realistic for someone to 10-12% is very realistic for a guy to have a little bit of abs, to walk around at that body fat percentage, be perfectly healthy. So that's kind of like your guy version of it. If you're staying at 6%, which you can't honestly stay that low, there's a couple guys who maintain really close to that low, I will say, out there that do a really good job. Actually, Greg Doucette, he's probably one of the guys that stays around like 7% all year, and he works incredibly hard to do that. But like, there's a few guys who do that stuff. And with that, like you're not going to be unhealthy if you're staying at that 9-10%. If you're a woman, you're not going to be unhealthy if you're staying around 18-20%, and then cutting to 14% as a woman and cutting to 6% as a man for very short periods of time. And even then, we don't know for sure that it's unhealthy that you're getting that lean, or if it's like how of what you're taking to get there that lean, right? And so I have a lot of people testing their hormones and labs all the time. I still haven't seen a direct correlation of everything of the hormones being so damaged or your body being so unhealthy because you're doing prep. Usually it's better, honestly. Like usually your blood pressure is a little bit lower, your resting heart rate's a little bit lower, your cholesterol's a little bit lower. The only thing is, when you prolong the preps, your thyroid levels might drop a little bit, testosterone might drop a little bit, your IGF-1 levels might drop a little bit. That's kind of your growth hormone indicator. So, and we're not talking dramatic, we're talking less than 10%. So.
And if you remember too, I can attest that this is true. When I took a year off and I got puffy, got more like a normal person, in 2017, guys, I took the whole year off. I didn't work out. I ate whatever. I got up to 145, which is a lot of weight for me personally because I've never been that much. I got my blood test, and that was my worst blood test I've ever gotten, right? In comparison to now. And I had things wrong with me that I didn't even realize. Like I was anemic. I had low blood iron, but you would never think that because I was eating like a normal person. I was eating steak. I was eating burgers. I was eating whatever, like a normal person would.
That's a good point.
You know what I'm saying? But now I'm healthier and I'm very aware of, the vitamins and what I'm taking and like making sure I'm getting my nutrients in. So it's like I'm making sure I take my iron pills. I'm making sure I take my multivitamin. I make sure I'm getting all of those essential vitamins and nutrients in along with my healthy foods. Whereas before I wasn't even caring about vitamins or minerals. I was like, whatever, I'm just eating normal, like a normal person would. And I also like the point that you made that, a lot of people, especially bikini competitors, I see like, oh yeah, I'm 6% body fat as a bikini competitor. And I'm like, girl, no, you're not. I don't know what method you're using. I don't know if it's the skin fold or what. There's no way. Like my lowest I've been was like low or high 12s, like 12.9 or something. Yes. And I was overly lean that time. Yeah. That was the only time I was below 13. I was like, that was too much. I was like, that was my first show back and I like way overshot my goal. Yeah. So knowing that, like, and now I come in like mid 13s, even high 14s sometimes, which I don't think a lot of people would even realize that because they see online like their favorite bikini competitor came in at 6%. Yeah. And I'm like, there is no way bikini competitor is 6%. Women's bodybuilding isn't even 6%.
I don't even know if a woman, I've never seen it. I don't think a woman I don't know, maybe they could get there. Maybe they get there and they die. I don't know what happens at 6%. I honestly don't. I don't know what would happen.
Right.
it wouldn't be good. Probably that's probably what it would get healthy. I don't know. It looks like the body kind of stops you because people don't understand. Like going from 30% to 20% is not that hard at all. Going from 20% to 16% is pretty hard. And then going from 16% to 14%, like you gotta like leave your soul. You're gonna like, okay, soul, you stay there for a day because I need to do this for a month and get to 14%. That like it seems like it just gets harder and harder. Like your body fights you and doesn't want you to get to that we call essential fat level. Like it just resists you. It's so much different from those percentages. And that's why I kind of tell people, like, if you want to do transfer, they're like, what's the difference between transformation training and contest prep training? I'm like, well, contest prep training is like, it's basically the same until you get to that point. And then contest prep is basically like, hey, you do what we say type of thing. And comfort is not part of this, right? We're doing this for sport. We're not doing it for comfort. It's not a fitness weight loss thing. It doesn't need to be crazy hard to get you that lean, but it is going to be harder to get to those levels, especially those pro levels.
Right.
But with transformation training, like you have a lot more leniency. I'm not opposed to people doing some macro type of stuff in the transformation. There's a farther margin of error. They can work out less times a week. They can say, hey, I only want to work out 4 times a week in transformation training. You can have input on your diet more so. But when it comes to contest prep, it's like, we can be a little loose in the beginning and have some freedom here and whatnot. But if you want to get to that pro level and you want to do this as a sport, like you better not be coming to me with that whole like, oh, I want like comfort and balance, but I also want to be Miss Olympia. Like anyone who's at the top of their game is very hyper focused and they're not talking about that balance. They're talking about winning and that's it.
Right.
It's a different thing. Like when you level up on that too. So like, that's the difference. The farther you want to go with it, kind of the more disciplined you have to be type of thing. And then if you want to just do a local level show and it's just for your own, like it's for your own just bucket list thing, then yeah, we could do it kind of however you want to do it, kind of but don't expect, Ashley results with, normal Miss Smith effort, like that's just not how it's going to work. Those things don't go together that way. And if someone's telling you that, I would look into their resume of wins and pro wins, especially because that's the same people that are saying that stuff are not getting those things. And it's like the experts who have like the huge following and like, this is how you do it. This is the only way to do it. I'm like, really? How many pro wins do you have? Like, oh, none still? It's been 20 years? Okay. Yeah. I'll listen to you. That makes sense. Because if we're all about data and research, where's the data and evidence-based proof that you have on that, right? So
yeah,
that's a thing. So I get that's another one that gets me out there, right?
Yeah.
But there's one thing I did want to say too. We're kind of talking on the topic of like health and fitness and whatnot, and I think people have like the people that think that you're unhealthy. I think your preps are super intense, and like there's phases to this. Going from that initial phase is not that intense. She's eating 1,500 calories, type of thing. She's doing 30 minutes of cardio, 5 days a week. That's not that crazy to think about,
Yeah.
The last part, getting her from 16 to 14, that's hard. Of course, it's crazy. You're not supposed to be that lean. Yeah. You're not supposed to be that lean and that muscular at the same time. So yeah, that part's hard. But getting there doesn't need to be crazy. Getting to 20%, not that hard.
Right.
Especially 20, like those is not that hard. So don't take that the wrong way. But what I get from people, especially people who are like transformation people or want to lose like 30 pounds, what I get from them is like, oh, I'm going to start here. I'm going to start then when there's not this thing coming up. Oh, my friend's wedding's coming up, so I'll start after that. Or like fitness is never, like to you guys who are asking that question of when you should start or I'm going to start after, just so you know, fitness is never going to be convenient. And you just need to understand that. It's never going to be a convenient thing, but eventually you'll desire the inconvenience. It won't even feel inconvenient because it'll just be normal life. You're never going to have a period of time where there's not a holiday, a birthday, a wedding, a work event, your friend's birthday, an anniversary. Like there's literally, especially in like American, like how we celebrate things, like food is just associated with that, but it doesn't need to be. Like the event still, I tell people the event still happens. Like Thanksgiving still happens if you eat just turkey breast, vegetables, and a piece of bread and call it a regular meal. Even if like it's still happening. Like right. You're not missing Thanksgiving. You're not being like, oh, see you guys later. I can't do Thanksgiving. Like everything still happens. You just need to do it in a way where it's balanced. And now that we're, you know, getting closer to that time frame of Thanksgiving and the holidays. Like the average person gains 6 pounds from Thanksgiving Day to 3 days after New Year's. They gain 6 pounds. Americans.
That's on top of the quarantine 15.
Bro,
jeez,
this could be a 21-pound year for some folks.
We're gonna see even a bigger increase of obesity, I'm sure.
And Nike's gonna get real crazy with their ads.
Oh snap!
Nike, you guys used to be about like fitness and like the ultimate elite level. What are you guys doing, man?
Yeah.
Like, my brand's not changing. Yeah. Fit people. That's what we're going to take regular people, turn them into ultra fit people, and I'm not going to be like, yeah, fat is healthy for you, because it's not, and I'm not going to ever BS about that.
Yeah, no. I wanted to also say this too. You know, I think a lot of people see like little glimpses of the prep life, and they can't relate to it. They think, I could never do that. That must be miserable. That must be terrible and unhealthy, just because they can't live that way, right? But for me, I'm not miserable. I feel great right now. Like, you know, some days I'll be a little more tired than usual, but regardless if I'm prepping or not, that's how it would be. And I've like made it fun for myself. I don't think that my foods taste bad. I'm not sick of the foods that I'm eating. Like, you know, I'm pretty content with my food. I've learned how to cook it in a way. I enjoy what I do. I enjoy working out for the most part. I'll allow myself little breaks every once in a while, but I think some people can't relate to that lifestyle, and that's why also they relate it to being unhealthy or like just miserable, and it's not. I have fun with it. I'm having the time of my life, and I'm sure I'm gonna look back and be like, those were some fun times, you know?
Yeah.
So it's like the whole journey in general is so fun to me. But I think, you know, just like with anything, it definitely can be taken too far sometimes, and I think if somebody turns this into an unhealthy thing, a lot of times it can also happen in the off season, and it's not necessarily due to the sport in general. It's their own, I guess, mistakes they make when they come off of a show prep, and then they gain a lot of weight because they've, you know, just kind of let it go, and they just, maybe they don't have a goal in mind for the next time, or they think, wow, well, I have a month off. Let me just eat everything in sight, even though I'm not necessarily hungry. I'm just going to do it because I can. And that's when it can become a little bit of an unhealthy habit, because that's where you can kind of mess around with your metabolism, which I touched on a little bit earlier, but that can also be fixed. But if you want to go into a little bit about the dangers of going overboard in the off season, because I think if there is a mistake that could be made, it's in the off season and just letting it all go.
I would say it's in the first month more than anything. Yeah, more than the first month. So we talked about the adaptions that your body goes through. There's a few different things that happen with prep, and one of them, the most adaptive reason that people like start lowering like their metabolic output is because their NEAT goes down so much. So if a coach is having you do 2 hours of cardio a day, and you're doing all this exercise, what happens is your body naturally tries to preserve calories in other areas of your life. So when you used to get up to go to the refrigerator 3 times a day because you were just like, oh, I just want to get some cold water, right? Whatever. Like now you don't do that. And you don't even realize that you're not doing it. You're just like, oh, I don't want to get up, go to the refrigerator and lay on the couch, right? So like little things like that, like your laundry piles up more, you're not walking the dog as far as much, whatever. Like the body finds a way to kind of reduce your total calorie output because you're doing so much calorie output through the cardio, right? So they almost offset each other at some points. Like there's actually kind of research on that stuff. I don't want to cite it because I haven't seen that I don't really remember it, but I do remember that in the study they showed people that were doing like extra cardio during preps, they were lowering their total NEAT throughout the day, and it almost neutralized each other because they're just moving less. So that's
you want to tell them what NEAT is real quick?
Oh yeah. So NEAT is non-exercise activity induced thermogenesis. So basically means your movement throughout the day. So instead of laying in bed, your NEAT is you walking around for work. If you're personal training, you being on the floor, grabbing weights for your clients. That's extra calories burnt. That's what that is. So all the little extras that you do that adds up to a lot of calories throughout the day. And when you're doing excessive cardio, your body kind of naturally reduces its desire to want to do that, and kind of tells you, hey, stay put because you're moving too much. We need to conserve calories. So that's kind of what happens there. So that happens in prep, and then you carry that habit in after prep too. And then you might have some thyroid hormone adaptation where you're just putting out a little bit less. Your body's producing less total T3 and T4 or whatever, and so you're getting a lower total metabolic rate at the end of it. Plus your body's just burning less efficiency now because it's trying to reserve calories by reducing total NEAT, things like that. So what happens is you go from someone who's now not moving as much as they did when they started prep because they're used to doing 2 hours of cardio now, or let's say an hour of cardio even. Now all of a sudden they stop doing that cardio, right? So now they're burning 400 calories less throughout the day. Their body's naturally burning less calories because they just have less testosterone. Their thyroid output is a little bit lower. Their NEAT is down a little bit. Their fat cells are really susceptible to just sucking in fat because they've been depleted and waiting to kind of keep you alive for so long that they're trying to store a little bit of fat again. And then all of a sudden you have this huge influx of calories when your body has adapted calorically too, and maybe you're down metabolically like 10%, and then your body is getting all of a sudden 100% more calories than it was getting before. And that's not that hard to do. Going from 1,200 calories at the end of your prep to 2,400 calories is a pretty easy thing to do. And so that's when all the damage happens. You know, you see so much of it because it's going to take time for your body to fix itself and get where it needs to get hormonally and metabolically after a long prep. In that first month window is where everyone gains that all back. And I've seen people lose 6 months of progress in 3 weeks, no problem, because now they don't have a goal. They don't have, their mindset isn't like that forced date, you know? And I think that's what people got to get out of. They got to get out of the habit of a date being their only reason to stay dedicated to fitness. If you can get out of that mindset of, hey, I got to compete on the 25th and I'm going to be perfect till then, and after that it's party time. Like if you can get out of that mindset and you're just fit for life versus fit for a competition, that's when you have long-term success. And that's why I always tell everyone, you need to do your post-show diet. It's so important to do that. And I've changed my methods on post-show dieting like multiple times now. So originally it was the original like reverse diet. Then it was increased calories to presumed metabolic rate where it should be. And then now it's bringing their calories up to adjusted metabolic rate to some capacity, even erring on the side of being in a slight caloric deficit, even though it prolongs the caloric deficit, which we don't want to do. But I want to be sure and careful when I'm bringing them up because that weight gain is just so hard. Like it's so fast and rapid, and it's so, you pay such a price for it. You're like, pay it with interest, man. It's crazy, man. It's like getting a loan from a loan shark. Hey, I want to be lean. All right, well, I'm gonna charge you 15% interest as soon as you get off that diet. It's crazy, man. Like they just gain so much weight. Like it's so easy, you know? So I err on the side of caution, and then I bring it up slowly, and I'm trying to bring calories down. I'm trying to bring cardio down, bring the calories up with keeping them maintaining. And after we get out of that like 4 to 6 week period, we're usually pretty safe to just start going with it.
Yeah.
You know? Usually pretty safe.
Yeah.
But that first month, man, all your 16 weeks of progress, like you made, your body just gets rid of that real quick. It's like, okay, let's get us back to where we were used to. Let's get that body fat back so we can be in a safe spot. And it's like, it slaps you in the face, man. And then what sucks is you get used to having abs. You get used to being ripped. You get used to like taking pictures in the gym and wearing a sports bra to the gym. And like, you know, guys will be like wiping their face with their shirt and just doing an ab flex in the mirror. We see you, bro. We know what you're doing. I've done it. I can't say it, but when you feel good, you know, it's a great feeling to have abs. It's great, you know? And then all of a sudden, and you've been looking great for 3 months, all of a sudden in 3 weeks, you're like, I better wear the baggy shirts to the gym because my face is fatter, my whatever's fatter. And it's just like a confidence thing too. So it really hurts people psychologically too. And I think that that's like the biggest price to pay for that. Obviously losing the hard work is a big price too, but the mental thing, when you go from being like feeling hot and feeling shredded and just feeling like confident to like gaining 10 pounds in 3 weeks, like it's not a good feeling, you know? And then what happens is they do this thing where they are like, okay, I just got to diet these 10 pounds off, right? And then you go right to a caloric deficit again. And if you keep repeating that process, yeah, you're going to probably end up
yo-yo dieting.
You're going to end up pretty calorically adapted where your metabolic rate is kind of reduced for years on end. You know, if you look at the Biggest Loser study, those people who did that crazy, crazy hard diet and then gained all that weight back and then dieted again and gained all that weight back, they still didn't come back metabolically 100% 6 years after the show, which is crazy to talk about. So like it can happen. You can have, I don't know if they're permanent adaptations. I don't think they're permanent, but they look permanent. I mean, 6 years seems pretty permanent to me. I mean, maybe you can fix it, but yeah, it's something you don't want to do. So be really, really smart after the show. You know, anytime you gain a rapid amount of body fat, they say that's really hard on the heart, and yeah, that can make you unhealthy. That would be unhealthy, you know, because when you hear the common thing, the common denominator is me talking about cardiovascular disease being the unhealthy thing. You know, when you're doing cardio and you're lean and you're eating healthy foods and your cholesterol is low and all that, super, super healthy. Rapid weight gain, hard for your heart. Being overweight, hard on your heart. cardiovascular disease is the #1 killer in the United States. And so, and it's very much associated with obesity. So, that's why I'm so like, hey, get everyone fit and let's stop promoting this BS that, bellies are beautiful, because it's not. It's a sign of being extremely unhealthy. It's a sign that you're going to die early, and let's be real about it. Let's just call it what it is,
Mm-hmm.
So, I'll get some hate on that, but I don't care. I'm going to fight for that till my dying breath. I don't care. I'm going to say how it is.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
but I guess with that.
Yeah, I mean, just wrapping this up, just keep in mind that this can be a very healthy thing for you.
Yeah.
You just got to do your research. You got to make sure you are following the rules and what your coach is telling you, and hopefully you have a good coach. I know I do. Coach Adam from Team Elite Physique, he knows what he's talking about and can guide me through a healthy off season and a healthy season in general. Just don't expect things to be healthy if you take it super, super fast and do this yo-yo dieting and all that. But if you're safe about it, if you do it the right way, this can be a very healthy experience for you, and you can learn so much about your body and how to treat it right if you do it the correct way.
Yeah, and can we talk about my shirt first?
Yes, I was gonna say, how can we not?
Look at this shirt, guys.
I love it.
It's a
oh my God,
are you getting the braid shirt?
Let us know if you want this merch. Should we drop some merch? Let us know. No, seriously, if you guys like it, let us know in the comment section.
I didn't even think about that.
I mean, let's see how many people would actually like it.
So
I don't know.
It's a bikini, for those listening, it's a bikini emoji on one side and a brain emoji on the other side. It's so stupid, but I love it. So, and then Ashley was like, I can't believe you didn't get me one. But I was like, they only had boy size. I don't know what to tell you.
I would make it into a tank top with a small or something.
I'll get it, babe. I'll get it.
But Adam, you were just about to wear this today and not even tell me and just see if I didn't notice.
You know what's
I don't know.
surprising is I came downstairs today and I was like, Ashley, it was 8:20, and usually you're up for 4 hours at that point. And you weren't down there, and then I was like, "Oh, I'll just jump on the computer until she comes downstairs." And then, like, it was kind of the reveal wasn't what I wanted it to be.
I was like, "Oh," that's the first thing I noticed. I was like, "Oh, where's mine?"
It's coming. Okay. It's coming. So, Anyway, so guess what, guys? One thing too. November 22nd is Ashley's birthday.
Oh my gosh!
I don't know when we're gonna post this podcast, but November 22nd is Ashley's birthday. I'll at least be getting her one of these shirts.
Okay, yes. I told him it's the best birthday present ever.
You could send your gifts to the Contest Prep Center in Denver. Address is on the website. So thank you guys so much for listening. I hope you liked it. And sorry about our intro.
Yeah.
So we'll talk to you guys later, see?
Yeah, see? Bye. Like and subscribe, see?
Like and subscribe, yeah. 5 stars, yeah.
Yeah.